Does income inequality harm economic growth? A presentation by Jocelyn Zamora. Yes or no? I used this article, here's the link at the top, and I would say yes, and this is what I use to defend this point. The single biggest impact on growth is the widening gap between the lower middle class and poor households compared to the rest of the society, which makes sense when they say education is key, because it truly is the most successful or wealthy people come from an educational background. Yes, not everyone has the same opportunities as others to go to school, but if you really want it, you can do it. You just have to give it all you got. You can do just about anything you set your mind to. A lack of investment in education by the poor is the main factor behind inequality hurting growth, and I agree with that. People whose parents have low levels of education see their educational outcomes deteriorate as income inequality rises. By contrast, there is little or no effect on people with middle or high levels of parental educational background. So, is inequality bad for economic growth? And this is from the Washington Post. The article for their link to this article is at the bottom. So the article states that there are compelling reasons to believe that inequality can harm growth, but it's surprisingly difficult to prove this happening. Due to many other factors are at play, here are a few theories. Theory number 1. High inequality leads to underinvestments in education. Inequality of income leads to inequality of education. Lower income kids end up in lower quality schools and are less able to go on to college. Theory number 2. High inequality leads to policies that hurt growth. This is mainly a theory about politics. As income inequality grows, more and more resources are concentrated in the hands of the wealthiest. So this idea goes, the wealthiest are better able to steer policies in directions that protect inequality at the expense of growth. Theory number 3. High inequality leads to lower levels of consumer spending. Consumer spending makes up about 70% of the U.S. economy, and lower income people have a greater propensity to spend their income than wealthier people do. Theory number 4. Inequality can lead to credit bubbles and financial crisis. It's also possible to combine theories number 2 and number 3 and tell a story about how inequality can lead to destructive financial crisis such as the one we had in 2008. So I think, referring back to both articles, it does hurt the economy. We can try to help it, but in reality, we know it's not possible. It's not possible for everyone to be wealthy. We will always need people to do our lower income jobs, such as fast food restaurants, factories, etc. Without them, we wouldn't have a functioning economy. Also, taxes and social benefits harm economic growth, provided these policies are well designed, targeted, and implemented. A few things that also don't help along with this is the inequality income. So question, is growth the only reason to care about inequality? And the answer is, it's not enough concrete proof to lead objective observers to unequally conclude that inequality has held back growth, and there's a lot more work that could be done. So here is a picture of a graph that I found, and here's the link. It shows economic growth and inequality in the next 10 years in percent-wise. So from that same article, I also read that the relationship between economic growth and inequality has been studied by economists for more than a century. Nonetheless, the issue is still far from resolved, and as explained in this article, the answer to the question of how unequal household income affects a country's growth is still not clear, both from a theoretical and also an empirical perspective. But there's also the reverse argument. One of the main arguments states that the greater inequality can reduce the professional opportunities available to the most disadvantaged groups in society and therefore decrease social mobility, limiting the economy's growth potential. In particular, a higher level of inequality can result in less investment in human capital by lower income individuals if, for example, there is no suitable state system of education of grants. For this reason, countries with a higher degree of inequality tend to have lower levels of social mobility between generations. An increase in inequality can lead to an excessive rise in credit, which ends up in acting as a brake on growth. So there's two sides to this, and I agree with the first one that, yeah, inequality does affect economics growth.